Shouldn't you rest a few more days? Her hand stopped on the last button of her shirt as her eyes lifted toward the mirror. Behind her, Jungkook was on the edge of the bed, tying the laces of his black joggers. Why, she asked flatly, tucking the hem of her shirt into her pants a little tighter, ignoring the slight sting in her foot. Looking put together was the least she could do even after she tossed her emotional state into the river and limp along behind it. She had a reputation to uphold. He looked up, brows slightly pinched. Because of your foot, of course. I'm fine, she said, too fast. He scoffed. You are. Your foot isn't. He stood now, towering beside the dresser. Doctor told you to rest for a full week. Did you forget? Oh, she tightened her ponytail. And whose fault was that again? She didn't wait for him to answer. 2 days ago she asked him nicely. Yes, she remembered being nice. Hey, can you get the briefcase from the hall closet? It's kinda heavy. But of course Jungkook was busy, headset on, barking orders at teammates killing zombie. He waved her off with one hand and said, in a minute. That minute never came, so she dragged it out herself, because screw it. Who needed help, right? And then bam. That stupid heavy thing slipped, landed right on her foot like a building collapsed. And now she walked with a limp and a mood to match. Heard that a million times in the last 2 days. How it's my fault, Jungkook ran a hand through his hair with clear irritation. Can we move past that now? She gave him a look but didn't say anything. At least you admitted it was. She said under her breath. He just blinked at her and then his face went blank. You know what, he said, stepping back and grabbing his hoodie up from the chair. My fault. My fault for showing concern. He threw the hoodie over his shoulder, not even bothering to wear it, and walked out the door. And the room felt colder without him. Not that she cared. The sweat clung to his skin, dripping down his jaw and soaking into his collar. His eyes were set on the goal, feet light, body moving in sync with the rhythm of the game. Cheers roared around the court like music, but he didn't hear them. He never did when he played. 1 bounce. 2. He pivoted, dodged a defender, and with a quick flick of his wrist, swish. The crowd went wild. Jungkook allowed a smirk to curl the corner of his lips as the final whistle blew. They won again. My boy. Jimin clapped his back, almost making him stumble. What did you eat this morning? Better ask who did he fight with, Hoseok said, squeezing Jungkook cheek. You always play better after arguing with someone. You should keep doing that. Jungkook rolled his eyes, grabbing the nearest bottle and chugging half of it before wiping his sweat-soaked face with the bottom of his jersey. Where are you going? Jimin said. To change, he replied. Change and come back, Hoseok, and I'll reserved food and a seat for us. Jimin threw his hand around Hoseok, who groaned in response. Not again with the seats reserving duty. Jimin pinched Hoseok throw a punch as both friends walked out together. Jungkook walked toward the building, shaking off the adrenaline. But then he stopped. His eyes locked onto the limping zombie. Yn. Hand clinging to the strap of her bag, brows furrowed as she tried to pretend it didn't hurt. But it did. He could see it in the way her jaw tightened with every step. His brow furrowed. Where the hell is her friend, that clingy girl she always stuck with? She winced and he took a step toward her on instinct, but then stopped. His hand curled around the bottle tighter. No. He wasn't about to hear another, "It's your fault I'm like this," Jungkook. He already felt guilty. Guilty as hell. Even if he wouldn't admit it out loud. But who the hell told her to go lift that damn suitcase by herself? Why couldn't she just wait? Why did she always have to act like she could handle everything? And now his parents would have one more reason to think he was a walking disaster. One more black mark to his name. She hissed again, this time a little louder. His head snapped up in time to see her foot falter on the first step of the stairs. Shit, he ran. Before she could lose her balance, before she could take one more stubborn step and end up breaking her damn spine this time, he grabbed her shirt in a fist and yanked her back. She yelped, stumbling, and collided straight into his chest. Her head hit his shoulder and she winced again, her hand shooting out to steady herself on his arm. And he was pissed. What the hell is wrong with you? She turned her head to look up at him, caught off guard by his tone and maybe by the fact that he was even there. Do you plan on splitting your head open next? He snapped again, breathing hard. Because let me tell you, a cracked skull would really match your limping foot. He hadn't even noticed how tightly he was still holding onto her until she whispered, Jungkook. My hair. Please, let go. That's when he realized some of her hair got entangled in his fingers when he grabbed her shirt. His eyes flicked down. He immediately loosened his grip, letting go of both her hair and her shirt. She winced as the fabric fell back into place, smoothing it out quietly. He stepped back half a step. Why didn't you take someone's help? Seriously, what is wrong with you? I'm not, she started, just as annoyed, but he cut her off. You're going to make your injury worse, YN. Do you not get that? He said, brows drawing together, the anger giving way to something softer underneath. Worry. You're not even halfway healed and you're climbing stairs. I wouldn't have fallen, she said looking away, I was gripping the railing. You didn't need to act like I was about to die. I'm fine. He stared at her for a second. His jaw tightened. Don't pull this I'm fine crap with me, when you can't even walk properly. Why are you yelling at me? She snapped, her tone matching his. Because you are so stubborn, he finally let his anger slip through. And if something happens to you again, guess who gets blamed? Me. My parents already think I'm irresponsible, and if you land in the hospital, they'll have one more reason to throw in my face. She froze. Then folded her arms tightly over her chest. Oh, so all this yelling, it's not because you actually care. It's because you don't want to get scolded by your parents. And here I was stupid enough to think you cared. Silly me, right? His lips parted but he didn't have a comeback this time. Her words hung in the air like smoke from a fire neither of them wanted to admit was burning. Are we getting a kissing scene here, or? Both of them jolted like they caught committing a crime. His eyes snapped toward the voice, jaw tightening when he saw Hoseok standing a few feet away. YN stepped back instantly, they didn't realize how close they were standing until then. Hoseok raised his hands in defense. What? Don't look at me like that, man. Jungkook glared hardened. Okay. But you might want to hurry before someone else steals your chair in the cafeteria. And just like that, he turned and strolled off like he didn't just blown up the most tense moment of the day. Jungkook let out a slow, angry exhale and looked toward the stairs again only to find YN already walking down, but her steps stubborn and quick like she wanted to pretend nothing just happened. He clenched his jaw again, grinding his molars, a muscle ticking in his cheek. Still, he followed. A few steps behind, close enough to reach out in case she tripped. He told himself it was only because she was limping. Because he was responsible. Because if she fell again, he'd be the one getting the heat. And he just wanted to make sure she didn't break her neck on the last few steps. That was it. Right? So, what were you talking about so deeply back there? Hoseok spoke, popping fry into his mouth as they were sitting in one corner table near the glass windows. Jungkook didn't respond. He was too deep in thought, eyes locked somewhere on his tray but not actually seeing it. His fork had stabbed at the same piece of chicken twice now and still didn't move. Hoseok narrowed his eyes, then kicked Jungkook under the table. He jerked slightly, blinking like he was waking up from a long nap. What? Jimin leaned forward. Where are you lost, dude? Jungkook blinked again, trying to gather his thoughts. Just eating. Can see that, Hoseok snorted. Is there someone on your mind lately? Wiggled his eyebrows, Jungkook scoffed, shaking his head. You guys just need some tea to sip so you can tease me properly. Jimin grinned. Well, you tell us. Is there someone worth the gossip? Jungkook didn't answer that. just kept chewing slowly like his food. Suddenly got really interesting. Hoseok wasn't letting that go. He leaned back and said, "You didn't answer my question." "What question?" "All your spitting is crap. Be in your limits, kid, I'm older than you." Jungkook rolled his eyes again, dragging his fork through the rice. "I asked what's up with you and YN." That made Jungkook pause. His fingers stopped moving. For the first time since sitting down, Hoseok had his full attention. "Nothing," Jungkook said flatly. "Well, Hoseok was telling me it looked like you two were about to kiss in the hallway." Jimin said. Jungkook turned his head slowly, eyes narrowing at Hoseok like he was ready to strangle him with a napkin. Hoseok raised both hands. "Look. I said what I saw, okay? That's why I'm asking. What's up with you two?" "There's nothing," he said again, but it didn't have the conviction he probably meant it to have. Hoseok snorted. "Really? Because I've never even seen you two talk before. But back there? It looked like you were about to either kiss or peel each other's heads off." His jaw clenched again and he looked away. "I'm eating. Can we please talk about something else?" "You brought the drama," Hoseok said smugly. "We're just your loyal audience." A loud round of could be heard from a nearby table. Finally both of his attention diverted. Jungkook shoved more food in his mouth, minding his own business. "Yo. What do you think? You think Hyunjin is interested in YN?" That made Jungkook hand freeze midair. "I mean," Jimin leaned forward like this was hot tea, "he's been trying to get her attention for a while. I feel like he's gonna ask her out soon." Jungkook's head snapped up so fast he nearly knocked over his water bottle. He followed Jimin's gaze to a table across the cafeteria and sure enough, Hyunjin, with his perfect face and golden boy charm, was standing next to YN. He was holding her books, trying to help her stand up from her seat. His legs started to bounce in weird annoyance. Meanwhile YN was shaking her head, clearly resisting his help. He couldn't hear what was being said, but he didn't need to. He looked down picking up his water, taking a long sip like that would help wash down the rising irritation in his chest. But of course that didn't help, so he stood up suddenly, his chair scraped loud against the floor. Both Jimin and Hoseok blinked up at him. "Where to?" Jimin asked. "Library," he said, grabbing his tray, dropped it off in the return rack. Like a man possessed. When he was about to pass by their table, he could the guy saying, "It's fine, you don't have to. Please YN. I'll just help to your classroom." Hyunjin said, still holding her books like some knight in shining plastic. She gets up on her own, but obviously irritated. One side of him wanted to see if she is going to take help from her so-called classmate. YN eyes instantly find his, he slowed his speed down, she almost thought he would stop, maybe offer his help again, but he looked away and walked past by their table before someone could notice. Because it was a rule. A ground rule they both agreed on the night after their wedding. When the reality of what happened finally sank in, "No one can know," he had said, sitting across from her on the bed, "at least not until we graduate." She nodded back then. Not because she wanted to keep it a secret, but because she didn't want to deal with the mess it would bring, and she know he did it for the same purpose. They were in their first year of university, both already under constant spotlight for being who they were. She was top of her class with grades most people couldn't touch even in dreams. Teachers adored her. Students respected her. She had a reputation to protect. Jungkook? Well, Jungkook was a goddamn campus legend. Captain of the university best basketball team. Always had a crowd around him. Girls whispering his name. Professors favor him. He was good at everything. Maybe even too good. It was about legacy. About family names. About merging two empires. Their parents already forced this marriage on them, so they both accepted their fate. "No thanks for the offer, but I can walk on my own," she said, taking her books out of his hands, and walking out of the cafeteria. Too. She doesn't want to come it out as rude, didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. But doesn't need help, she had it all under control. Her notes were a blur in front of her eyes. The same diagrams. The same miserable, twisted dance of medical jargon, the words blending together like soup. Something about the mitochondria and ATP and God knows what, she didn't even know what chapter she was on anymore. Her eyes were open, but her brain already checked out about 10 pages ago. Another loud yell came from behind her, "Let's!" Jungkook shouted, clearly winning whatever stupid round he was on. His voice bounced off the walls like stadium. And then came the sound of his chair rolling, probably him leaning forward to shoot or throw or whatever. And of course, he looked effortlessly perfect. In a hoodie that hung just right off his frame, sleeves pushed up, a lazy curl of hair falling down on his forehead. She gritted her teeth. He didn't notice. How the hell does he manage to get good grades when he spends half his time yelling into a headset? And here she spends months to get the grades he achieved studying just for 3 nights. God really has their favorites. But then again, he studied business. And she stupidly, miserably was buried in medical and she hated it so much it made her feel sick. Biology made her want to pull her hair out. Chemistry? Don't even get her started. Every formula felt like a personal attack. She didn't want this. She never wanted this. Her dreams didn't look like this. Jungkook got to decide. He always did. His family let him choose what he liked, what he was good at. He had sports, he had business, he had his freedom. And what did she have? A gold-plated cage. Perfect grades. Perfect girl. Perfect bride. She hated all of it. Sometimes she wondered if it would have made a difference if she had screamed loud enough. Would anyone have listened? Or would they just say, "You'll thank us later," like they always did? Another shout from Jungkook snapped her out of it. That was it. She grabbed the pen in her hand and flung it across the room. It hit the wall right next to his PC. Whoa, Jungkook looked back, flinching slightly. But then he immediately turned back to his game, yelling something into his mic. His fingers moved in a blur. "Shit," he groaned. "Yo, I just died. Because someone decided to throw projectiles at my head." He tossed the headset off, leaned back, one hand resting on his neck, the other reaching for the pen that lay on the floor beside him. "I'm assuming this belongs to you?" he asked, holding it up like some evidence in court. Wyan didn't even bother to look at him. "So? Taking your anger out on a poor pen?" He turned the pen slowly between his fingers. "Look at it. It's practically crying. See? This, he held up the middle, is where the pen goes to die. Snap. The pen broke in half." He blinked at it. "Oops." She scoffed under her breath. "Murder is illegal, you know." Jungkook grinned. "Oh? And who exactly are you planning to murder?" he asked, tossing the broken pen onto her desk. She finally turned around to look at him. "Does it matter? I mean," he said, a playful expression taking over his features, "if I'm the target, can I at least know in advance so I can leave a will? You are not that important." "Wow. Love that. Truly warms my heart." He leaned back in his chair, tossing the pen cap in the air and catching it again. "Married for 2 months, and I already feel so cherished. Must be the honeymoon phase." She gave him a blank look. "You don't know if I had feeling, that might have hurt." "Good that you don't," her voice dry like sandpaper, eyes still locked onto her notes like they were the only thing keeping her from launching a book at his head. Would be such a tragedy if the great Jungkook John felt something for once. He raised an eyebrow, stretching his arms behind his head with the most irritating grin she ever seen. "Oh? So you do think I'm great?" She finally looked up, blank as ever. "I think you're loud." "Same thing," he shrugged. "Loud, great, charming, legendary." She rolled her eyes so hard they nearly fell out. "Delusional. Smart," he added with a finger raised, ignoring her completely. "Funny. Athletic. Devilishly handsome. Annoying. Arrogant. Borderline insufferable, she cut in. Should I go on? Married to you, he added. Let's not forget that bit of misfortune. Misfortune, she repeated with a glare. You should be grateful, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to your sorry life. He let out a loud cackle. Now who's being delusional? But she didn't even spare him a glance this time, just blinked slowly and stared back at her notes like they held the answers to life, death, and how to survive her whole life under the same roof as Jungkook John. Ignoring me now? He asked, stretching his legs out. She still didn't look up. If I start replying to every mosquito buzzing in my ear, I'll never get any work done. He laughed. A real one. Not sarcastic or scoffing or half-hearted like he usually did to annoy her, but a sudden, unexpected laugh that made her eyes flicker toward him for the briefest second. Huh? Was that the first time he laughed because of her? Well, it's not like she ever gave him any reason to laugh. They weren't exactly besties with inside jokes. He had his own priorities, his basketball games, his business classes, his late-night gaming marathons. And her? She had anatomy textbooks and sleepless nights and the constant pressure of being the top medical student. Just because they now shared a bed, a closet, a bathroom didn't mean they were about to start sharing lives. Right? Right? Well, Jungkook spoke, pulling her back in present, you did attempt murder with that pen of yours. I was doing my own business. She turned her head slowly to him. You were being loud. I lost a whole ranked match. I lost a pen too. He held up the broken pen again and shrugged, turning his face back to his PC. May it rest in peace. Her lips twitched slightly, almost invisible. That even she didn't notice. Jungkook adjusted the strap of his backpack and let out a long breath through his nose. They were both heading toward the same bus stop, like always. He had a car. A nice one with his own damn license and everything. But he hadn't driven it in 7 months now. Why? Because his oh-so-generous father decided he was being too reckless and confiscated it like he was a teenager who'd missed curfew. He couldn't even complain. It wasn't worth the 15-minute lecture he will get in return. The afternoon sun wasn't exactly forgiving, and his black hoodie wasn't helping, but he didn't really care. His eyes were locked on the figure walking in front of him. Where are you lost? He asked, finally catching up to her side. She glanced at her briefly. Nowhere. Wow, he said, squinting sideways at her. Such depth. So poetic. She didn't even huff at him. That's how he knew something was off. You're awfully quiet. She hummed. Okay, now I'm suspicious. Did you fail a test? Fought with someone? No. He tilted his head, narrowing his eyes. Then what is it? I'm just tired, she said. They neared the bus stop, and she didn't stop. She walked past it. The bus stop. He called after her. She waved a hand, not even slowing. I'm not going home today. He stopped in his tracks, confused. What do you mean you're not going home? No answer. He quickened his pace and fell into step beside her again. Where are you going, then? Out. Out where? She stayed silent, her eyes focused on the road ahead like he wasn't even there. Hey, I'm talking to you. God, why does she have so much attitude? I just have stuff to do. He gave her a flat look. What stuff? Stuff, she repeated. Thanks. That clears everything up. He muttered sarcastically. Go, you will miss your bus, she said. Nope. Not until you tell me where are you going, she groaned and dragged a hand down her face. Why do you even care where I go? I have to tell my parents if you're not coming home. I'll tell them later. They'll ask me first. Then tell them I evaporated. He scoffed. Seriously, YN a. Fine. I'm going to my parents' place. Happy, she said, finally turning towards him. He stared at her, brows pulling together. You sure? What, you want a passport stamp now? I'm just saying, you didn't mention it earlier. How am I supposed to tell my mom where you are if she asks? You know she notices to everything. I wasn't planning on writing you a schedule, she snapped. He sighed. You could have just said it earlier. You always act like I'm the enemy. I can go see my parents without having to report it to you. I didn't say you couldn't, he said, trying not to raise his voice. I just. Damn, YN, I was asking so I don't get chewed alive at dinner. You think my parents won't bring your name up the second I walk in alone? She stayed quiet. I'll text your mom. Good. She turned around, walking again, this time slower. And he watched her go, a bitter taste forming at the back of his throat. There was no point in talking to her or even offering that he could walk with her. So he turned around, sighed deeply, and headed toward the bus before he actually misses it. He doesn't get her. Well, okay, maybe no one gets her. Maybe she doesn't let anyone. The truth was simple, neither of them wanted to get married. It wasn't love, it wasn't romance, and it sure as hell wasn't their idea. But some days he tried to be nice. He tried teasing her too, annoying her. It wasn't flirting, at least, that's what he told himself. It was just something that came naturally when he was around her. Like a reflex. But she was always guarded, cold and distant. Like even letting him in an inch would cost her something. Rude? He didn't want to call her that. Maybe she was just tired? Exhausted? Annoyed by his presence? He got on the bus, dropped into a seat near the window, and let his head rest against the cool glass. He shook his head. If she wanted to keep acting like he was just a roommate she was forced to endure, then fine. He wasn't dying to talk to her either. But again, there was something about her. Some days she just looks hollow. Like there is nothing going on inside her head but at the same time everything. Something told him there was more to her cold, quiet, maybe even rude facade. More than she let anyone see. And for some reason he didn't want to admit yet, he kind of wanted to be the one to find it out.